What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and welcome back. We are here to talk about Season 2, Episode 6 of From. Y'all, this has been a long time coming. I've been telling y'all about this episode, and I'm so glad we are finally here to talk about it. Last time we left off, Sarah, been nuts, right? But she's finally back in town, and Boyd is basically trying to do damage control. So, look, I'm really excited to talk about this. So, enough of that. Let's get right into the episode. Boyd tries to talk to Mrs. Liu about his decision in keeping Sarah in town. That is, until Kenny came in. Boyd leaves and goes back to the church. He finds it empty, and all of a sudden, he starts to hear the very same music box that he heard playing when he initially met Martin. A ballerina starts dancing around, and Boyd decides to dance with her. That is, until she started to burp out a bunch of worms. Boyd wakes up, apparently passing out before ever leaving the diner. Kenny takes him over to the clinic to see Christy. So we kick off this episode with Boyd trying to talk with Mrs. Liu, and it seemed like he was trying to rationalize, his decision for keeping Sarah, but honestly, it sounded like he was trying to convince himself more so than actually trying to convince her, because I don't really think she really cared about anything he was trying to say. Now, as for that ballerina, clearly Boyd is suffering from more intense visions, and it's almost like what Jade has been going through with his visions. Now, this episode is called Pas de deux, which is French for step for two, and I think that's kind of what we saw when Boyd was dancing with the ballerina. Now, as for her worm breath, I'm not really sure what that could mean, but I do wonder, given what happens later in this episode, if it's a sign that maybe the worms were fighting against the visions, or maybe it means the more obvious thing, which is the ballerina is just bad news. So y'all let me know, what did you think about her worm breath? Back at the colony house, Ellis, Fatima, and Donna are collecting what's left of their food rations. Donna says to tell the others that they're just going to be going under a new system until they can manage. Now, just kind of keep this in mind that after the big storm that happened at the end of season 1, this place, this town, whatever this environment is, it just so happened to take out a lot of their crops and their food. So this is really putting the residents in the town in a very tough position. Christy finds a folder in Marielle's bag. Turns out that she wasn't actually going to go see her family, but rather she was going to go to rehab. Christy goes into the medicine cabinet to check on the supplies and hide some of them away from Marielle. Okay, so Marielle obviously lied to Christy. I believe she said she was going to go see her aunt or something like that. But when she was on the bus, she was actually going to go to rehab for her drug addiction. Now, I think that this adds maybe like another notch to the theory that's been going on about like the people who have been coming into this town, and it seems like they're coming into this town with one of two things happening. And maybe this is a pattern of some sort, and please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong here, but some people are entering the town based off of some sort of traumatic event, or they have some sort of drama or something going on. So maybe like Father Khatri was near suicide. The Matthews, they had like this divorce after the death of their baby Thomas, or something like that. Something really traumatic was, the precursor before they actually ended up in the town. Or on the flip side, there were people that were going to start a new phase of their life. So you had people like Boyd, who was retiring, and he was going to start a new chapter. Or the bus driver, she just wanted to go on vacation. Or Jade, even, who just sold his company for all this money, and he was going to start a new chapter in his life. So it seems like, Marielle is kind of more, probably more on the dramatic side of that. But what that means, I'm not really sure, but I'm guessing it's something we have to kind of keep in mind, that the stories behind these people and what, again, where they came from, not just literally, but also figuratively, could play into why this show is called From and what the whole deal is behind everything going on. Boyd is walking back with Kenny to the clinic. He tells Kenny about the pain in his arm and the worms he feels. He starts to hear the music box again, though. He sees it playing on a rock and the ballerina comes out of the cellar. The vision stops and they both head off to the clinic. Okay, so like, yeah, the ballerina and all that stuff is something clearly that's going to be repetitive, but I want you to pay attention to what happened in this scene, which was Boyd had told Kenny that he also noticed that the leaves were changing here.
Leaves changing colors, falling off the trees. Never seen that before.
Now, obviously, this place, this town, whatever, it has a mind of its own, or maybe it's being controlled by somebody else. We don't really know. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Boyd has been here for about a year. And Victor has been here even longer than him, right? So for both of them to notice now that the leaves are changing or that the trees are changing, I do believe it carries some level of significance.
The trees, they're changing.
To me, it's more interesting that Victor noticed this because, keep in mind, he's been around when the first massacre happened. So for the leaves to be changing and for that to be something new for Victor, whatever this changing of the trees is, it's going to be something that even Victor has never experienced. So what kind of gets my mind going here is the fact that the trees changing for Victor is very significant. He was here when the first massacre happened, and apparently the trees have never changed since that time. So for them to now be changing and for it to be new, not only to Boyd, but also to Victor, I get the impression that clearly this might not be something that they can anticipate. There is no pattern for this. But at the same time, I also don't think it's going to be something good. You let me know what you think about these changing trees. Boyd is in the clinic and he finally tells Christy about Martin causing his arm wound. He asks Christy to promise him to end things if they go out of control. Kenny is concerned about Boyd because his own father showed similar signs with his dementia. Christy tells him it's way too early to worry about any of that. In no time, Boyd starts to hear the music box and he sees the ballerina again. Suddenly, she jumps on him and tries to strangle him. Boyd wakes up from his vision and accidentally pulls a gun on Marielle. He quickly puts it away. You know what? I'm getting a little tired of this ballerina Karen. I mean, why is she bothering this brother like this? My man was literally minding his own business, trying to sleep, and she out here jumping on him and trying to kill him? Look. She is starting to become a menace. As for Boyd, oh my God, it is about damn time you told Christy about your COVID worms. Brother, last time my man was out here dancing around, lying to her, talking about like, oh, it was just a tree branch or whatever. Man, listen, in a place like this, we ain't got time for all that. Look. Where is Will Smith from Concussion? Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Now, Boyd had said that the worms were not only feeding on Martin, but that they also wouldn't let him die. So now I'm wondering, these worms must have been put inside Martin by whoever or whatever captured him to torture him, which also means that they can be weaponized. But we'll get to that later. Now, something else to pay attention to is between Christy and Kenny and what they were talking about with Kenny's dad and dementia, right? So yet again, this was either like the second or third time that Christy has kind of brushed off the whole idea of Boyd having dementia or losing his mind because that was something like as an advanced stage of Parkinson's, right? But this kind of adds a little bit more fuel to my theory that this place might have an odd effect on people's bodies when it comes to like time in some way, shape, or form. Now, we've seen people get wounded, kind of like Ethan, and have those wounds heal up real fast. Well, my thinking is, well, if wounds can heal up real fast, doesn't that mean that maybe diseases can also accelerate? If the body heals quickly, then if the body also corrupts through disease, maybe that happens quickly too. Or maybe all of this is because of the worms in his body and that's causing his issues. I don't know, but you guys let me know what you think. Donna says that if they can keep their rations going, it would last them about a year. Jim notices that there's barely enough food for the month. He also believes that the powers that be are trying to increase the stress levels. Boyd talks with his vision of Father Khatri. Kenny comes in and confronts him about who he's talking to. Boyd tells him that he was just talking to his imaginary friend Khatri. This is exactly the type of energy I need from everyone. My man Boyd was like, yeah, I'm talking to my dead friend. Yeah, I got some COVID worms in my arm. Yeah, I'm scared. I don't care. Man, I love it. Thank you, Boyd. This is what I'm talking about. Look, if more people would just snap off like this, we might mess around and get some answers in this place. Now, as for Donna and Jim, she's concerned obviously about the rations, but Jim is starting to notice that, you know, this might be adding a little bit to his theory that this is all one big experiment, you know, and he thinks that by limiting the food, that's going to kind of like introduce chaos amongst the people in the town. And I mean, it's kind of true, right? Like Donna was kind of saying like, yo, we don't want people to freak out. So that's why she's kind of like, you know, minimizing the effects of all this, because she doesn't want people to panic. So it is possible that whoever's watching them at this point could just be watching to see how they're going to react now that they don't have any food, you know, or that the food is shortened. Now, my question for you all is, do you believe in Jim's theory that this is all one big experiment? Ellis and Fatima are arguing about him not telling people about Sarah. There's a disturbance downstairs, though. Gail is accusing Elgin of stealing food and says that the bus people have got to go. During the argument, he stabs Ellis with a knife.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm sorry.
Fatima says that they need to go to the clinic. However, it's dark outside. Elgin rushes out of the house for the van. Two librarian-looking monsters approach him, apparently asking him for his library card. More monsters start to show up, and he pulls the van right up to the house. They manage to get Ellis inside, and they narrowly escape and make way for the clinic. First of all, if you are enjoying this video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out the next time I make a video. It really would help out my channel. Now, okay, this is where we starting to get into it. Ooh, this is starting to get heated. Now, like, I don't know if y'all noticed, but you could hear the monsters shrieking as they were like driving throughout the woods or whatever. And again, I feel like this is kind of a change of pace because the monsters, they stopped doing all the screeching and screaming back when Boyd had the talisman. So now it's kind of like, well, why y'all doing this? Why y'all picking this up again? But man, I don't know about y'all. When Elgin was driving and all that, I thought they was going to crash. I thought that, you know, every time the camera kept showing the front of the car or whatever, I thought they was going to crash and the monsters were going to like have to walk after them on foot or something. But I gotta tell you, I love the tension that was going on right here. And I want y'all to think about this because y'all probably didn't consider this. There was no talisman in the van. And I need y'all to understand that if they had brought one with them, they would have been fine. Because if they were like, you know, we saw earlier that if you put a talisman inside of a vehicle like the bus or the RV, you'll be all right. As long as you're in an enclosed space and you have it hanging up, you will be fine. I'm actually kind of surprised they don't just have one hanging in the rear view mirror, you know, like y'all could actually get around places at night, but I guess they not thinking about all that. But anyway, hey, actually, nah, screw that. Y'all could literally go through the woods in the van and go exploring and stuff. They not thinking about that. Anyway, but the fact that they did not have a talisman in the van only added more tension. And if you think about the fact that the monsters were right there on the windows, okay, they were right there. So if they could do that to Frank, I don't think it's going to be that hard to believe that they could just cut through the van and get everyone. So this was basically a really, really close call. Elgin, Ellis, and Fatima finally reached the clinic. Ellis is now having trouble breathing. Fatima is starting to stress out and Boyd calms her down. Christy says that he lost a lot of blood and he needs a blood transfusion. Boyd is concerned because as the only compatible blood type, he doesn't want to give Ellis his COVID worms. Kenny pulls out a gun on Boyd and tells him, you better let Christy work. Boyd's arm starts to hurt and now everyone can see the worms. Kenny volunteers to take the worms himself. Boyd rejects him and says that there's a nightmare going on inside him and that passing it on to him would be dangerous. And that's when the light bulb goes off for Boyd. He goes outside and calls out for the monsters to come and get him. All of a sudden, Jokerface shows up along with a bunch of other monsters. Boyd cuts his hand and slices Joker's throat. He puts his hand on the open wound. Jokerface seems amused until he starts to freak out and writhe in pain. The other monsters circle his body and walk away. Boyd starts the transfusion for Ellis. Yo! Okay, now that was intense. I did not see that coming. That was a hell of a gamble for Boyd to take, okay? Especially to deal with multiple monsters around him like that. I mean, look, they could have taken him at any point. At any point. Luckily, they like to play with their food, so they didn't like just jump at him like that. But I'm a little mad. I'm a little mad that they had to go kill Jokerface. Like, I liked him, man. Why y'all gotta kill Smiles like that? My man was on the posters and everything. And he was literally the most terrifying out of all the monsters. I mean, yeah, you got Granny out there and all them other. I don't care. Jokerface was the one. He was the real problem. Okay, he was the one face that I was just like, bro, like, don't ever smile at me, even in real life. I just don't. But my goodness, that was absolutely amazing. I loved it. And it appears now that these worms are toxic to the monsters. Now, this was truly a game changer, right? I mean, if you look back at the older episodes, we saw that like the monsters, it doesn't matter if you shoot them. It doesn't matter if you cut them. You know, they're not going to fall. They don't even feel that apparently. But clearly they missed their vaccination shots to get COVID worms. And now they can definitely be affected in some way. Is this going to kill them? We don't really know yet. It looks like it killed them, but I guess we still got to wait and see what happens. Now, the other thing that I found pretty interesting was the reaction of the monsters to, what happened with Jokerface. Like, they were real casual about it, but what was interesting here was how they were able to just completely ignore Boyd. Think about it. These things literally come out at night, every night, just to kill people. They finally got one cornered, and they were just like, get out the way. What's going on over there? So I thought that was interesting because it gives the impression that one, they've never been killed or wounded or whatever before. And two, they've probably never encountered these worms or whatever either. So all of these things are fascinating to them. And I think that's pretty intriguing. But one way or another, like I said, it's a game changer. Now, I'm not going to forget about my man Kenny. Now, Kenny was out here acting real buck, okay? Because I'm saying my man pulled out a whole gun on Boyd or whatever, talking about like, bro, first of all, I need you to calm down, okay? You already said you ain't want to be the deputy, okay? I need you to put the guns down. But I will give Kenny some props for at least volunteering himself to take those worms on. Yeah, it was crazy, but at the same time, it kind of was one of the most logical options, at that time. Obviously, counter to Boyd's even more crazy, risky move, but it definitely was a safe move in comparison. But y'all let me know, what did you think about this whole scene overall? Were you on the edge of your seat like I was? Let me know. Donna and Ethan store some food in the basement. He was worried about the house falling down like at his previous house. He confesses that he's scared and just wants to go home. Donna says that she's scared too, but without fear, they can't be brave. The transfusion is complete and Ellis can breathe again. Fatima is stressing out and asks Christy for a pregnancy test. Kenny says that he should have listened and trusted Boyd. They look out at the body of Jokerface. Boyd says they'll find out what happens with its body soon enough.
We'll find out soon enough.
Whoa, so could Fatima actually be pregnant? Oh, now here's the thing. It's not a shocker that obviously her and Ella's been knocking boots or whatever, but I'm more concerned and I'm kind of thinking more about what could this mean if she is pregnant, right? And more importantly, not just the fact that she could be pregnant, but what would it mean in actually having a baby in this place? Keep this in mind. When people arrive into this town, it starts to affect them in different ways. You see Jade tripping out.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
What the f do you know?
You see people like Ethan or Sarah having seizures, or Elgin as well. So like you're having all these different things with crazy dreams, visions, and seizures. But what happens if you're like straight up born here? Like, do you have a new and different, maybe even a closer connection to this place? Because to my knowledge, I don't think we've actually dealt with someone that was pregnant or that has on the verge of having a child here. Now, moving on, we got to figure out, I got questions. What is going on with Joker Face's body? I mean, is it dead? Is it just sleep? Is it just going, I mean, like, I'm really wondering what is going to happen. And I'm pretty sure they're going to answer this in the next episode. But I mean, I want to see, like, do the monsters burn up when the sun rises? I mean, is it just going to get up and run away or something? Like, my mind is racing right now. But you all tell me, what do you think is going on with the body laying on the ground? All right. Well, that's it for this episode. This is the point where I'm going to give you guys my rating for it. I think that after a much needed pick me up after 2 boo-boo episodes, I'm going to give this episode, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. They gave us a good solid 20 minutes of straight up suspense, and I'm here for it, right? Now, I don't know if this ranks higher than the Colony House Massacre from season 1, but it's really, really close in my opinion. So now you guys let me know, where do you rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10? Now, this is also the point where I'm going to give you guys a couple clues that I think are important for you to consider throughout the duration of the series. And I think one thing, obviously, we have to pay attention to is the leaves and the changing of the trees. Again, I think that it is significant of something bigger that is going to happen that has not happened before, at least going off of Victor, right? Because Victor's been here, he's seen the massacre, he's, remember when he was digging all the graves and stuff, so he knows the pattern, like, oh, when this happens, this is gonna happen. But this changing of the trees is new for him, which means some new event might also be in the works. The other thing I think we need to keep in mind is the ballerina visions, right? I mean, Boyd started seeing it before he got the worms. I mean, at first I thought it was a byproduct of seeing, of like having the worms, and like that's when you would start to, have these visions or whatever. But just kind of thinking back, it was like, nah, actually he saw the music box before, Martin gave him the worms, and Martin told him like, yo, when that music stops, that's when they come and get you, whoever captured him. So we're going to have to pay attention to the music box. We're going to have to pay attention to the ballerina, because clearly that's where things are going to go to the next level. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I really, really do appreciate it. Please stay tuned, because I'm going to have some more interviews from the cast that I'm going to share with you. You don't want to miss it. And I'm going to be dropping a couple theory videos as well as the season goes along. Do not forget, go back and watch my season 1 breakdown videos as well. I guarantee there are things that you missed. Even if you think you binged through the whole season, there are things I'm going to point out to you that you're absolutely going to want to know. So make sure you go watch that. Anyway, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next episode. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.